What if I told you that the Bible and the very origin and journey of Jesus might have been altered throughout history? That alone would be quite shocking, wouldn't it? What if I went even further and revealed something so bizarre about Jesus that it would leave you perplexed and perhaps change your perception of your religious beliefs forever? Well, these revelations and more are addressed in the book Compendium of the Emerald Tablets by Billy Carson. The author explores the ancient texts known as the Emerald Tablets, attributed to Thoth, the Atlantean. Thoth is described as an immortal being and an extraterrestrial entity who brought spiritual knowledge and wisdom to humanity. Carson offers a modern interpretation of these texts, focusing on themes such as spiritual ascension, the nature of the cosmos, and the connection between consciousness and reality. But what does all this have to do with the Christian Bible and Jesus? Carson, in many of his lectures, claims that much of the biblical content we know today was altered from books and accounts of older texts and civilizations, which supposedly received this knowledge from gods who were, in fact, aliens. To support his argument, the writer states that many biblical passages reveal contradictions regarding God's behavior. Even the word God was altered from the ancient texts. In Hebrew, God is written as Elohim, which means gods, suggesting that God did not create everything alone, but rather with the help of other gods. To contextualize his argument, Carson cites several passages from the Old Testament. Samuel 15:3.
Now go and strike Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey.
God, through the prophet Samuel, commands King Saul to completely exterminate the Amalekites, including men, women, children, and even animals. Joshua 6:21.
And they utterly destroyed everything in the city with the edge of the sword, both man and woman, both young and old, and oxen, sheep, and donkeys.
In the siege of Jericho, God commands the destruction of everything and everyone in the city. There is also a very controversial passage where God instructs the Hebrews to take women as slaves by force. Deuteronomy 21:10-14.
When you go out to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands, and you take them captive, and you see among the captives a beautiful woman, and desire her, and want to take her as your wife, then you shall bring her into your house, and she shall shave her head, trim her nails, and remove the clothes of her captivity. She shall remain in your house and mourn her father and her mother a full month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go wherever she wishes. But you shall not sell her for money, nor treat her as a slave, because you have humbled her.
These are just a few passages from the Old Testament where God's behavior appears cruel, excessive, and vain, quite different from the God of love, mercy, forgiveness, and justice in the New Testament. Carson says this is evidence of a war between gods in ancient times, and that in those days, aliens influenced nations to carry out their plans for global domination, posing as gods. This idea is more extensively discussed in the book Wars of the Anunnaki, Nuclear Self-Destruction in Ancient Sumer by Chris H. Hardy. The book explores the concept that the Anunnaki, extraterrestrial gods, influenced the ancient civilizations of Earth, particularly in Sumeria. The book suggests that these beings used nuclear weapons in wars that destroyed entire cities, such as those in the Jordan Plain, leading to the collapse of Sumerian civilization. But what about the New Testament? What conclusions did Carson reach regarding the story of Jesus? Get ready, because the revelations are disturbing. The New Testament tells the story of Jesus' time on earth, teaching humanity. It is known that Jesus was already a rabbi in much of the New Testament accounts, an active adult in Jewish society under Roman rule. But little is known about his youth. The so-called missing years, those between his 12th and 30th years that are not mentioned in the Bible, have been subjects of debate by various sources over the centuries. Additionally, Jesus undertook many pilgrimages throughout his life, where he witnessed supernatural events and spoke with the devil himself on multiple occasions. He possessed many powers, such as levitation, healing, transmutation, and telekinesis, but he did not fully control them and thus set out in search of ancient knowledge. Carson says this quest leads him to Egypt, where he encountered the Egyptian entity known as Thoth, the god of relationships and medicine. Thoth was actually an alien who instructed Jesus during his time in Egypt. But are there any evidence of Jesus' journey to Egypt? According to Coptic tradition, the Holy Family is said to have traveled through several Egyptian cities. One of the most frequently mentioned locations is Fustat, an ancient area of Cairo, where the Church of Sant Sergius and Bacchus, also known as the Church of Abu Serga, stands today. It is believed that they lived there for some time during their exile in Egypt. Another mentioned location is Mataria, on the outskirts of Cairo, where the Virgin's tree is located. According to tradition, the Holy Family rested under this tree. In addition to these locations, there are accounts and traditions in other parts of the country, such as the city of Asyut in Upper Egypt, where it is believed they stayed during the final stage of their time in Egypt. From Egypt, Jesus is said to have traveled to Tibet, according to Carson, where he went to learn from the monks. Russian writer Nicholas Notovich, in the 19th century, claimed to have found a Tibetan manuscript narrating the life of Jesus in the East, stating that he studied in India and Tibet. This claim has been widely discredited, and the manuscript was never verified by other scholars. From Tibet, Jesus is said to have traveled to India to learn about the processes of reincarnation. All these theories ultimately lead to one conclusion: that Jesus himself was also an alien. The fact that Jesus performed miracles and his statements that his Father had many dwellings in a kingdom not of this world support this line of thought. Some theorists, like Carson, claim that Jesus was actually the god Enki, the Anunnaki god described in Sumerian cuneiform texts and in Babylon. Enki was one of the most important gods in Sumerian mythology, being the god of water, wisdom, creation, and magic. He is often associated with innovation, creativity, and cunning, and played a key role in protecting and promoting the well-being of humanity. Enki is the son of Anu, the god of the sky, and the brother of Enlil, the god of wind and storms. However, unlike his brother, Enki was often described as more compassionate and favorable toward humanity. One of the most famous myths involving Enki is the story of the flood, where he helps Ziusudra, or Utnapishtim in the Akkadian version, survive the deluge sent by Enlil. While Enlil intended to exterminate humanity, Enki broke the pact of silence among the gods and secretly warned Ziusudra, instructing him to build a boat to save his family and the animals. This is described in Sumerian texts and other religious accounts older than the Bible. One of the pieces of evidence that supports this theory is connected to the most famous prayer in the New Testament, the Lord's Prayer. In Sumerian texts, the prayer of Pita to Enki is very similar to the Lord's Prayer, although all these theories are not officially accepted by the majority of scholars. They make us wonder if aliens have truly been guiding the course of humanity since its inception. And you? What do you think about all this? Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, share this video with more people, and help the channel grow stronger.